Okay, so to show how to use or how to find the age of a word or how old a word is in a dictionary, okay, we're going to use this dictionary, okay. So let's start with, let's pick a word. So in the previous video, we were talking about the word nice. So let's stick with that word. Okay, so here down here, we see the word nice. Right down here. And we can see right here, right, where it says 14th century or 14 with little letter C right here. Let me see. So you see right there, that little, so you got the, I forget what it's called, but the parentheses, right? The two little bookends, and then has a 14 and the little C in there. That little C means century. So it's telling us here that this letter, that this word nice goes back to the 14th century. So let's dig more into that. How do I get rid of that? Okay, so what happened here? Yeah, okay. So what we're going to do is use this little, so now this is in the front of the book, okay? So this is the same dictionary, okay? But when you go to the front of the book, right, of the dictionary, okay, you're going to see this little thing here, this little chart, okay? And right down here on this side, on the left hand side, right, like, you see, let me see if I can make it a little bigger here. But see how they're giving you a, like, the breakdown, like in the front of the book, like where you see the word nice, okay, so they're giving you an example, okay, and they're showing you where all the different parts, right, in a word history setting, right, and they're showing you, right, or giving you information where you could find on how to understand what these things mean. Okay, so right down here you see on page 17, right, and you see the arrow is going up there. See, it says right there, wait. See, this one says 13th century, okay? But you can see how, see, it's giving like a little chart right there that's telling you to know about, right, the timeline in the 13th century or whatever. You got to go to page, right, 17. All right, so let's go to page 17, and that's over here. Okay, so here we have page 17. See, you can see it. I might be covering it, but this is page 17. Okay, and you can see here this is deal with dates. Okay, let's deal with the dates. So this is all information here from right here all the way down, right, to over here, all the way down, right, okay. So right here, so remember now, right, the 1400s, right, had those two parentheses, right, 1400 and a little C, letter C, meaning century. So right down here, let me see. In the case, and how we and what we're talking about right here, right? Because there's a lot of ways you can get into learning the date of a word, but for our purposes right here, we're just going to focus on basically this era right here. All right. So here we see right here, right? Oh, yeah, right here. See? 14th century. Okay, so let's read a little into not just the 14th century, right? Let's learn what this means as well. What they mean? What do they mean before the 12th century? Okay, and what does this mean? So we're going to see that. We're going to see it like that also in the dictionary. Okay? So what do these things mean? All right? So let's read the second one first, right? Because we're dealing with the 14th century. Right? Okay, let me highlight. So they say the style that names. Okay, so let me not do it like that. Let me just read it. Right. So it's saying the style that names only a century. Okay. So this is the style. Okay. You see in the parentheses right here. Okay. So this is the style. So this is the style that we find, okay, when we're talking about centuries in our dictionaries. So it's going to look like that. It's not to have the word as in it, but it's going to look like that. Just as you saw already, right, in the word nice, okay? So this is the style, right, in the dictionary, right, that names only centuries, okay? So we know we're talking about centuries. But here's the thing too, right? We have different dictionaries, right? Because when a century, that's like 100 years, right? So we know that a lot of words are formed, can be formed within a 100-year period. So wouldn't you like to know more of a precise date of words? Okay, the word nice was formed in the 14th century. Okay, but let's narrow it down. So the thing is, right, there are other dictionaries, okay, that will give you precise dates of these words as well. So just be mindful of that. So, be mindful of that. Yeah. So, all right. So that's the style. So when you see those parentheses in 14 or whatever, 15, 12, whatever, it's going to be different. Right. Now, okay, so now we have Okay, let's deal with the first one. Okay, so when you see now this one's more precise, right? So this one we're talking about 17, the year 1790. See, now that's more precise because that's talking about a precise a particular year. Okay, so that's a year right there. You know what I'm saying? So we went from 100 years into 1 year. Okay, so we see it like that. And again, the word as is not going to be in there. Okay, so we see those two parentheses, right, in 1790, or it could be any year. Okay, the style of this particular dictionary is telling us that it is talking about a year, a particular specific year. Okay? And now look what he's doing too. Not only that, right? It's also telling us, look, and let me see. No, is the one used for the period from the 16th century to the present. Let me highlight that. Let me. Now, not only does this particular style, right, it's going to give us a particular year, a specific year. It is also used, right, within a year, certain year period. So it's going to be, from the 1600s. So it's not going to be the 1500s. Okay, so you're not going to see this in this particular dictionary, right? Telling you that a particular word, right, is from a particular year in the 1500s. Okay, or it's only going to give you, right, the 1600s. Okay, it's not going to go back to the 14, 1200s. It's going to be 1600s to the present. Okay, now, why is that? What's going on there? Why is it saying that? Why is it saying from the 1600s to the present? Because they're telling you, in this particular dictionary, we can only give you a precise year, right? Only, right, from the 1600s to the present. We can't do it in this particular dictionary going back to the 1500s and 14 and 13 and stuff. Why? Why is that? Why? See, what's going on there? Oh. See, we already know that the word present, right, is telling us, right, that we're dealing with modern English. Okay? But what's up with the 1600s? And we can figure this out, see? This having a little prior information. See, so here it is. So you remember now, this is an English chart, okay? It's a key date periods of English, okay? The different Englishes. And remember now, we have several English languages, right? We got Old English, Middle English, okay? The modern English. Okay, we got 3 English languages. and that's important. Because they're all different. But here, look. See, 16th century is right there. 16th century. It's between 15 and 17. So right there. Early modern English. Early modern English. So what they're saying is, right, is that we can only give you specific dates, right, in modern English. That's what this means. Okay. See, and just think about that. They tell me this is good, you know, and what we want to do too, right? Because this is etymology. We deal with history, and we also deal with the history of the culture of language, the words, and why they do certain things, why they did certain things. Okay. So you think about that. Hey, wait a second. You know, you got information. You got dictionaries and information of words that go way back, farther than the 1600s. Why you can't give me a particular date on these words? Why you only stop at the 1600s? What's up with that? What they did was, again, remember, Middle English, okay, was, let me say it like this. They call it, and I spoke about this before in other videos, they call it the Great Vowel Shift, okay, and again, when you know how bad, when you understand the problems with modern English, right? You know, you understand when I say, and it's already, people know this, yeah, but because they're going to give you an impression that, oh, the Great Vowel Shift, it was a good thing. They're going to give you this impression that, hey, see, it had to happen. It was a good thing. No, it didn't have to happen. You didn't have to create a whole new language when you already had a language. You didn't have to create a whole new different English language when you already had a fully established one. See, because they already had Middle English. And you know what's so crazy about this when I say that? Because Middle English, right, is the language of the Renaissance. Middle English, Shakespeare, James Charles Stewart, all these poetries, Beowulf, all these people that wrote these books that we have today. I mean, you know, all the movies that they come out today, the fairy tale movies, you know, the Wizard of Oz, and you know, the Greek mythology movies, the Marvel movies and stuff like that. These are all Greek. All the movies about Thor. These are all coming out of that era. These are all coming out from Middle English. Or now say because all these great writings, all the history of language and the sciences and poetry and paintings and drawings, it was around this time period. Because because it just wasn't in English, in England. England, okay? But there were in other countries too. Germany, there's other countries, all these other places were getting in Europe. See, Europe, not just English or England, went into this great renaissance or this great renewal, this great development of learning. Other places and countries did too. Okay, so it's around the same time period, 1100s into the 1500s. Okay? But yeah, but modern English was used, to develop this so-called, I'm not praising those people over there, I'm just saying, but to what they did with the Renaissance, to do all of that. And it's spilling over into today. I mean, you cannot go anywhere in the Americas, right? You cannot hear any word, or you cannot go into any store, any business, any corporation, or courthouse, or whatever, and not have to deal with the Renaissance. See? Middle English. See? This is the richness of it. So when you understand, when you know that, hey, Middle English was established everything. And it's still being used today. All the law books, medicine. When they say, when they tell you about all these Greek mythology, these Greek teachers and Socrates and all these, they tell you all the Hippocratic Oath and all that stuff. All these, this is going back into, Middle English. See? So, when you know that, and they start talking about how great and how necessary it was to create the great vowel shift, to rearrange and the shift, to just obliviate, the Middle English, and come up with some nonsense, this new language, this modern English. See, and be mindful, see, because a lot of us say, English is a bastard language, or English is a bad language, and this and that. No, wait. What you're talking about, the language you're talking about, is modern English. You're not talking about Middle English. You're not talking about Old English. You're talking about this so-called New English language. And here's another piece of history, another piece of the culture of etymology. The bulk and the bulk of this new language, this modern English, was created right here in the Americas. See, there's another reason why they say early modern English. Because, yes, a small idea of it started in England. But that idea was for the purpose of utilizing this new language to deal with the people of the Americas. See? That's why, if you go to Britain, England, it's a different English. It's a different English. Because there, they use Middle English. The King's English. Middle English. Here, we use this new, created, twisted language out of Middle English, right? They took all the vowels and all that and everything, right? And they rearranged it, right? They took Middle English. They rearranged it and messed it all up and whatever, and they came up with this new language right here in the Americas. See? So you got to realize the culture of etymology, the power of etymology. It tells you history of words and the culture of words. See? They created this new language to deal with the Native American Indians, who are those of us today who are grossly being mislabeled as blacks, African Americans, and all these terminologies. See? And that's so powerful when you understand that. When you know that. Now, this is known. This is known. This is not a secret. It's just that if you're not, because a lot, this might sound crazy to some of you, only because you're not familiar with this. You're not familiar with the history and stuff like that. They're always lying to us. It's like that's why I use the word nice, because I know a lot of you guys are familiar with that word. You heard that the word nice does it means to be to call someone foolish, slow, dumb, and I'm saying, stuff like that. So, to let you know that, hey, see how because, if you didn't know that, you'd have thought nice was a good thing. You do something for somebody, you open the door for old lady, and she says, oh, that was so nice of you, young man. Did she just call me stupid? I'm saying, but so you have to know it like that, and because the word nice is a good example to show you how they twist words around, because this is modern English, and this again, this new language was created for us. Because I already proved to you that it wasn't for them, because they already had Middle English. The place that these Europeans come from, Europe, right? Their culture is established to this day in Middle English. They didn't need it for themselves. See? You got a rich culture. The Renaissance, you got a rich culture built and established in Middle English. Why would you need to destroy Middle English to create this Frankenstein monster? Modern English, and with all this, it has so many problems and this, see, it couldn't be for them. It had to be for for somebody else. See, so powerful. They came here, and this is what it means. Because understand this, right? We were not a stupid people. We were reading and writing here in the Americas before the Europeans came over, before the Spanish came over, and before the British came over with their Middle English language, right? We were communicating with them. It didn't really. You mean to tell me that you hanging out with me, right, for 5 years, something like that. You coming over here and you hanging out in the village 5 years and you talking. You mean to tell me that I could not have picked up your language? You mean to tell me that me and you hanging out, right? We friends. You're not gonna, teach me your language? Or, we hanging out. You mean to tell me that I'm not gonna try to teach you my language? We're not gonna learn about one another? I'm not gonna be curious about where you come from. How is it over there in Europe? How is it in Britain? What's the culture like over there? What is different foods over there? What type of birds you got over there? See? And you're not gonna think that the same applies the other way? Come on. And just think about it. Look today. How long does it take for a person to learn a language? See? And they didn't have all those distractions back then. 5 years is like, wow, you can pick up a language in 5 years. So that's just an example. Okay? Because the truth is, when they say, it was against the law for, and they try to hide this, right? They say, for so-called black people, African Americans, right, Negroes, to be taught how to read. But understand, they're really talking about Indians. See, when you know it like that, because see, this so-called black history, it only goes back into this nonsense about slavery. Was it 1600, something like that, into that. And they only get that's our history. See? But when you know that we are actually the Native American Indians, you say, it goes way back than that. See? Because when they talk about, they brought us over here on ships, we're talking about now the British, the English. But what about the Spanish? The Spanish were here, okay, because they're telling us that, hey, the Spanish were here. The Spanish were here before you was. You know what I'm saying? We brought you over here after the Spanish were here. See? See, but when you know that you are actually the Native American Indians, okay, wait a second. You know what I'm saying? I was, dealing with the Spaniards, and I was learning the Spanish language. I was learning to speak Spanish. You know what I'm saying? Way before I was learning how to speak Middle English, because the Spanish were here before the British. See? So I was reading and writing then. See? See, because we're really talking about an ability to learn. Okay, an ability to learn. So because before any European came over here, peoples, not just here, people were writing, people were reading their written words. It wasn't English. It wasn't, but see. So we're talking about an ability to read or write. We're talking about a learning skill. See? So, I could be hanging out with somebody. See, okay, I'm serving you. I'm your servant. Okay? And every day for 5 years, I'm, serving you your meals, and I'm listening to you talk, and I'm you reading the newspaper. See, because back then, you know, people were talking, writing, reading papers. So I'm looking at you write. I'm looking at you reading what you're writing every day, all day. You know, when you take me to the market, and I'm saying you made your little shopping list and going to the market. You got some words down there on that paper, and you point up there and say, I want some of this, some flour, and some sugar, and some eggs. You mean to tell me that I cannot make the connection, or I was unable to make that connection? You know, eggs. She pointed. That symbol right there, it must be eggs. Flour. She pointed. That must be flour. So you mean to tell me? See? The truth is of that law was, do not teach them how to learn or how to read modern English. Okay? We already knew how to read Middle English. See? The game was that we're going to control these people. Okay? Because we know the power of words. We know the power of etymology. We know that words influence the mind. And we know that words build cultures. Words build societies. Words build systems and organizations. See? Words build discipline, control. So we're going to do this, right? We're going to build our culture right here in the Americas with this new language we developed, this code system, this coded system, okay? But we can't do it if you teach these people who we are trying to control the system, the code. Don't let them know the goal. See? And that's what it was. And they said, hey, you know, if you teach them the code, you know, we're going to kill you. See? So teaching the code or revealing the code was under the penalty of death. Because, you know, they had to build a system. They had to build a system here. See? You can't trick nobody if they know you coming. See? Knowing you coming is knowing the words. You're saying, you know, let me go, we're going to go there and beat that guy up. I heard that. So now I can defend myself. Now I can prepare myself. I can brace up again. I can brace myself now because I heard the words. I know what that means. I know what you said. I know what it means when you said that. See? So when you don't know what's being said, right, between two persons, okay, and what they're doing is building something, they're preparing something, they're setting something up, you can't defend against that. See? So yeah. So what I just did here in this particular video, okay, this is etymology. Okay? Etymology again it's how it's understanding the history, the culture. What I just did, I broke down the culture of why they created this this new language. Okay, so this is etymology, the words. How did they come up with this stuff? Why did they do it? When did they do it? Who did they do it to? And all that stuff. You know. So, yeah, like I said, this is a demonstration into the power of etymology. All right, so again, the topic of this video was about how to find the history of a word. Okay, so I've shown you that and a lot more. All right, so let me go. And as always, remember, this is our true history, language, and culture.